On this 51st anniversary of the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision, which struck down all pro-life laws in every country, every state in the country, and imposed abortion on demand until birth. But of course, that was overturned in Dobbs. Well, the Democrats' messaging machine has gone into overdrive, pushing the party's devotion to abortion in the post-Dobbs, the post-Roe world. Now, in response, Republicans, some, cannot run from this issue fast enough. I mean, some of them are running away from it. We've been talking to them. But others are standing boldly and promoting the need and the responsibility to protect life. Now that the Dobbs decision has returned the issue of life to lawmakers, the need for pro-life candidates to go on the offense, articulating a clear position on protecting life, has never been greater. Well, join me now to discuss this is North Carolina's Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson, who has drawn attention from the legacy media for his outspoken commitment to protecting the life of the unborn. Lieutenant Governor, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always great to see you.
Thank you. Great to be here again. Appreciate it.
So you are not running from this issue. Now, the Democrats are running on the abortion issue, and I read an article, something you've been saying on the campaign trail or out there as Lieutenant Governor, is what I've been saying. Look, let the Democrats run on abortion. Let's run on life. Let's protect the unborn. That's what we're about.
Absolutely. That's our whole point, and lots of people seem to get confused on that. They think that I've changed my position. I have not changed my position. I've just changed I've changed what I'm saying, because I want you to notice something. Democrats, the leftists, they want everyone to say the word abortion. They want our children to say it in schools. They want us to say it in our churches. They want politicians to say it on the floor of the House and on the floor of the Senate. They want me to say it as the Lieutenant Governor. I'm bound and determined to stand up for what I believe in. And what I believe in life. And it's time for us to start using that word. This is an issue of life, about protecting life, and then about doing what we can as elected officials to make sure that once those lives come into the world, that they have life and have it more abundantly, just as Jesus Christ would have us to do. And so working on all those things, those wraparound services that we need to make people's lives great. But we really need to start changing the subject. The subject is not abortion. The subject is life.
Could not agree more. Could not agree more. Because we are about protecting life, about the unborn life, about the mother, about the family, about society. And that's what we're doing. We're not, and I think you're absolutely right. They defined the terms of this debate because so many were just silent initially. And then they started, so many Republicans started stuttering. But we need to go out and tell people what we are for. We are for protecting the unborn and preserving a culture of life in this country.
That's exactly right. I've made this statement over and over again. I've also made the statement that, when I speak, I want to be that person who's there, who's understanding. I want to be the person who's not up on a stage, not up on a platform, telling a young woman why she can't have an abortion. I want to be that person who's coming down, putting my arm around that young woman who may find herself in crisis and telling her why she doesn't have to have an abortion. Why our administration, why our folks as elected officials, we're going to fight hard to make sure that you can bring that child into the world, and not only bring that child into the world, but have a great life for that child, yourself, and your family. And that's what we need to do. We need to start building a culture of life again throughout this nation. And I believe that's what we're going to do here in North Carolina in the coming years.
And you've stated that. You've made it very clear that you want to make your state a destination state for life. Now, I had to chuckle a little bit because that's a sharp contrast with the current governor that's there who's embraced that whole agenda of the left. How are people there in North Carolina responding to this message of yours?
People love this message. They love it. And it's exactly what we need to do. Roe versus Wade went from being passed as law in the nation. Then it went from the Clinton years to being, safe, legal, rare. Now it's being pushed all the way up to 9 months and beyond. It didn't start overnight, and we can't roll it back overnight. What we really have to do as strong Christian, Bible-believing Christian conservatives is we have to work hard to ensure that we are building a complete culture of life throughout our society. We're fighting for every single life in the womb. And then once they get here, we're fighting for changes in our daycare system, our adoption system, all of those services in our healthcare system. We want to show the people of North Carolina that when you come here, that this is a destination state for life. At 20 weeks, we were a destination state for abortion and death. We want to be a destination state where people look and say, hey, in North Carolina, those folks know how to take care of people, all the way from the womb, all the way to old age. And we want to make that happen here in this state. We're bound and determined to do it.
Governor Robinson, I want to step back for a moment because a minute ago you said something about you want to be there to put your arm around that young woman who is confused and alone and uncertain as to what to do. A part of this is education. And I mean education not from numbers and statistics and all of that, but helping people understand the path of life. And you've told that story. You understand what this means to individuals. And so part of that is being candid. Part of that is telling these stories and helping people not make mistakes that they might regret later.
Absolutely. My wife and I, unfortunately, chose the route of abortion years ago. And I cannot tell you the immense pain, the silent pain that we went through for so many years over this issue. It was just this unspoken thing that hurt both of us very deeply. And we have always regretted it, almost to the point where we just couldn't even speak to one another about it because it was so painful and it brings so much regret. We want to tell those stories to young people. And, you know, when the press came out and so-called discovered this, which is a free admission that I had made for myself on social media, when they so-called discovered it, it was amazing to me how God used that to reach so many people who felt the exact same way, to encourage them to keep going and to know the mistakes that they made are shared by so many of us. But you're absolutely right. Educating our young people is going to be crucial. You want to empower a young person, empower that young person to know the greatest thing that they can do for their future is hold control of their body, to hold control of their body and make sure that they're not falling into those traps that popular culture is pushing so many of them into. That's real empowerment. That's real progress. And that's exactly what we need to do in our education system.
Yeah, I find it, you know, the president even today saying, you know, and the vice president today, they made this a focal point of all their speeches. Both are out today talking about a woman's right to control her body. Well, you know, it also, they have a right to control it before they engage in the activity that leads to a pregnancy. Why not challenge them to do that? But I want to go back just for a moment. I don't want to leave this moment where you were talking about the pain that you and your wife had because of a decision you made years ago. You've used that to counsel and encourage others not to make that same mistake. But I don't want to leave that without first allowing you to speak to this issue. And that is, yes, there's pain, there's guilt, it still bothers you, but there's forgiveness. And that's the good news of Jesus Christ and the gospel message is that we don't have to carry that burden. We don't want others to do it, but we don't have to carry that burden any longer.
That's exactly right. That's one of the best things about giving your life to Jesus Christ. You know, when Jesus forgives, it's a forgiveness that you can feel down deep in your soul. And we do deeply regret the decision we made, but we have no doubt whatsoever that Christ has forgiven us and helped us to see a better day. But I would definitely warn any young person out there, do not take this issue lightly. Do not take this issue lightly. It haunts, it hurts, and it causes deep emotional distress.
What would you say to your colleagues that are in or running for office that are on the conservative side of the aisle, Republicans, Democrats already showing they're going to talk about this issue? What would you say to Republicans as to what to do and how to do it?
The number one thing I would tell them to do is to stop listening to the bad reports of CNN, CBS, and ABC, and all those news agencies that are using this issue to try to browbeat Christian, Bible-believing conservatives. That's number one. The second thing that I would say is, quite frankly, stop being a coward and stand up for what you say you believe in. It's time for the people of this nation to realize who we are. We are a people that came from a people who declared their independence before the king did. We didn't ask for our independence. We declared it even before we were free. We need to start acting like that again in America and being courageous and standing up for what's right.
When you look, from your vantage point, and you've been in public office now for a while, you've been able to travel the country, you've been outspoken on a number of issues, presidential election year. What's at stake for America this year?
America's survival. America's survival is at stake. I've told people on the national front, the three big things that need to be done: our border needs to be secured, we need to be energy independent, and we need to rebuild our military. If the new president, no matter which president it may be, does not do those things, America is going to continue to decline and eventually will not exist anymore in the form that we've known it. Everything is at stake in this election. There are those who want to drag this nation kicking and screaming onto the global stage of being a socialist state like those in Europe. We cannot allow that to happen. We are indeed the last domino standing. We need to make our stand strong, and it starts with us standing up for what's right.
Yeah, I do believe that is true. I believe that our republic hangs in the balance. Geographically, this landmass will continue to be here, but the freedoms that we've enjoyed for nearly 250 years, I believe, are on the ballot in this election. We have two diametrically opposed worldviews that are pushing forward. And I think you're right. The left would want to move us right into the globalization that has taken place in parts of the world that are already socialized. That's what they want.
Yep. The globalist socialist network is what they want us to be a part of. America needs to be strong, continue to be strong and independent, and be that shining example in the world. There's a reason why people literally will risk death to reach this nation. It's because this nation is endowed with a freedom that's never been seen in the annals of man before. We need to hold on to that freedom, and we need to fight like heck to make sure she survives.
Right. Even given our problems, they'll risk it all to come to this country. Final question for you, Governor Roberts, and thanks so much for joining us today. How can our viewers and listeners be praying for you? I know you've been to several of our events. You were at the Pray Vote Stand Summit this year, one of our top-rated speakers. People love to hear from you. How can they be praying for you?
Just pray for wisdom and strength. That's all we can ask for, is wisdom and strength. Be able to withstand the fiery darts and arrows of the enemies from the other side, and for wisdom to continue to know the right thing to do. And so those are the things that we would ask that folks pray for us.
All right. We will certainly encourage them to do that. Governor, always great to see you. Thanks so much for taking time to join us today.
Thank you, sir. It was great to be here.